You know, first of all, he basically a Democrat sent him to Vietnam. But it wasn't Richard Nixon. He had a total hatred for Richard Nixon. He went to Vietnam under Lyndon Johnson.
Mm.
But he hated Richard Nixon for being in Vietnam. Well, Nixon didn't start it, Johnson did. But they tend to forget that. They develop hatreds. And it's the thing, too, is that we now have a polarized press, which we didn't used to have. It used to be...
You think so?
Oh, no, we had two types of press. We had the people that did the yellow journalism, like which was like William Randolph Hearst, like. Then we had the regular press. But there were always people on the right and people on the left, but they were press. I mean, they got along. They didn't insult one another. That's gone today. I mean, that vanished. 30 years ago, they started taking sides, which you're not supposed to do in journalism. You could privately take sides. I mean, well, we knew that, for instance, Walter Cronkite was way to the left, and then, like John Campbell Swayze was on the other side, but nobody cared because they were newsmen. Their idea was to get the story out there. Mm-hmm. But, what happened was all of a sudden you started hearing news people taking sides.
Well, now, I mean, the news channels have a reputation for being left or right.
Yeah, when they shouldn't be either, because it's why...
And it's not just one of them, all of them.
And why Fox News is doing better than the other channels, it isn't because they're right and there's more people on the right, there's more people on the left. It has to do with the fact that Fox is better at giving a perception.
That they're on the right, whereas the rest of them are mainly on the left.
Yeah.
So if you're the only one on the right,
yeah,
and most of the other ones are on the left,
but
guess what happens?
Fox will put out people on their stations. Okay, Juan Williams is so far to the left. Mm-hmm. Alan Combs is way to the left.
Way to the left.
Kirsten Powers is way to the left. You just put the lineup of people that are way to the left that are on Fox. You try to find the people that are way to the right on any other news channel in the business. They don't exist.
Oh, I guess they give that impression of being fair and balanced.
Yeah, when they're not, there's nothing fair and balanced about Fox, because the people on the right always will shout down the people on the left.
Right, but at least they give the impression that they are.
But they don't even give the impression. It's not so...
well, because it's their show.
Yeah, no, but we're...
Others are guests.
We're fair and balanced, because, like we used to say, Monty couldn't... Monty basically was fair and balanced because she couldn't vote, but since we now know that you can vote... if you can vote if you're an illegal alien, Monty can vote.
Monty should vote in the next election.
That's right, and basically, she got vote, she's got 4 paws, a tail, 2
I
ears,
could get her
and
to
nose
do an
and tongue.
X.
Yeah, she can do an X. Monty
put her dog paw.
Or she can lift a leg up and fire at it, but she can do a dog paw real easy, boop, and then she can slurp it. So, but there's all kinds of things she can do to vote, but there's no longer the perception like... In Egypt and the Middle East, they're picking the winners and losers right now. Mm-hmm. The press is deciding who the winners and losers are.
Well, don't you think they did that in our election too?
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
But they're not supposed to be. You're supposed to have, no matter how far. Okay, like they said, William Randolph Hearst basically pushed us into the Spanish-American War. But there were people on the other side that reported about what Hearst was doing. Mm-hmm. Today, there's really nobody, okay, the people on the right in the Republicans' leadership doesn't like Mubarak because he's a dictator, so they don't support Mubarak. The people on the left want Mubarak gone because they would rather have the Muslim Brotherhood in charge, because they're way to the, this is funny, the people on the left want the people on the right in power.
Isn't that ironic?
Makes no sense, does it?
That's kind of weird.
I mean, they would be perfectly happy with, remember, communism, socialism is way to the right, it's not to the left.
Really? I always think of it.
No, it's a right-wing thing. It's basically...
it's kind of funny.
It's just way to the right. It is way to the right. Way to the left, basically, is dictatorships, total dictatorships.
Interesting.
And they have, and so it's just how that works. But the people on the left want conservative mullahs in charge. Isn't that great? Conservative mullahs, and they would string, if you tried to, say you wanted, I think Billy Graham should be the next president of the United States. You can't do that. But if Billy Graham was a Muslim, I think Billy Graham would make a great president of this country. because he would be farther right than Billy Graham is as a Christian. So it's everything weird, but the people, Republican pundits and their party leaders are so morons. I mean, I can sit there and see what's going on, but they're so intent. We have to have democracy in the Middle East at all costs. We have to get rid of those dictators that, I heard a guy the other day said, in politics, you would really like to have the best outcome. Unfortunately, the best outcome is also sometimes just a little bit less worse. It's just not as bad as the one you had, but it's still bad. That's politics. But unfortunately, Republican leaders and Republican pundits would rather have, well, let's throw the baby out with a dishwater and see if it works. Try Iran. That's what happened in Iran. That's what happened. They've got Muslim uprising. How about Burma? How about Thai? Indochina, Indonesia. All of those countries are becoming Muslim dictatorships because the dictator that was in charge was bad. So let's replace an American-friendly dictator with a Muslim that hates us, because the people, once they see democracy at work, they'll all want to become members. Whereas the Democrats, the people on the left, they just want the people in the far right in charge. Like I said, you figure out that if you put a person in the far right in charge in our country, they would, basically, they will crucify Mike Huckabee if he tries to run for president. That's one of the reasons why they don't like Sarah Palin. They're on the religious right. It's why Pat Roberts never got anywhere, because he's religious right. But if the Ayatollah in Iran would come to this country, I think I want to be the next president of the United States. Barack, step aside so I can run. You would see the people on the left lining up to support the Ayatollah of Iran to run for our president.
What?
He's the extreme right winger. So
He could never. First of all, he never could, because
Well, yes,
he
he
was
can.
born. He was not born in the United States.
They don't care about that anymore. By allowing Obama and McCain to run in the presidency and not challenge the fact, because it didn't make a
It didn't make a difference because they were both, but it also opened the door for somebody
opened the
else to
door.
run. So like Schwarzenegger could run if he wanted to.
They could say, the Ayatollah could say, well, I spent my formative years in college in the United States. So therefore, I was just as much, and then a guy, all you do is you pick out a guy. Well, my grandmother was born in the United States, but I went back to Iran. Oh, that means you're American by birth. Yeah, because, that's how loosely they're doing it. So he comes over with his Muslim outfit, he comes over with a Muslim army, and they simply, they go out and spend $100 billion. Okay, the Obama needs $1 billion to run, not against the Republicans, but run against his people. They come over with $10 billion, and you have an Ayatollah as the President of the United States, because the people on the right, people on the right in our country, the Republicans and their pundits, don't think that this is a great idea over there. And this, we're going to, even though this may not work out, I think we should give them the opportunity for a democracy. If they wanted democracy, there'd be 1 million people on the streets pounding people's heads saying, we want democracy. That is democracy. They said, this is another one. A lot of my family is from Illinois. We're from Cicero. A lot of them are from Cicero, Illinois, and that is where the really mean people are from. My grandmother that was in the entertainment business out here, she said that you knew democracy was in full force when you'd go to a union meeting and all of the union members had drank so much beer that they didn't know what was going on, and they were just, you want hard, I think that Roosevelt, that's democracy. When they beat the hell out of one another at a union rally, and they were about who they were supporting. That's democracy at work. Standing in a square, throwing Molotov cocktails, spitting on people, and milling around, not working. You weren't working before. That's unemployed people with nothing better to do, being used by the press on both sides. So, I know, it's called hypocrisy. I get tired. Like you said, I grew up in an era when the job of a journalist was to go out and report that, we were specifically, your job was to report the news, not to become part of the news.
Well,
That era is
it's
gone.
changing.
I mean, you got both sides, the danger is when both sides pick the same winner. Okay, if both sides pick the same winner, that is something you should be worried about.
I know. Knock, 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 knock. Pay attention to Egypt.
Yeah, and Egypt is just the first. Israel is going to, and I'm gonna tell you, this is what one of the news people I heard talking the other day said, this is the start of World War III. It started, and it can't be stopped, because they're going to pile on Israel. You know they're gonna pile on Israel. Obama is not gonna come to their defense.
And I think
will not.
Israel already realizes that.
They know Obama is not going to come to their defense because Obama is a Muslim. He doesn't give a damn about the Israelis. But you have to remember, you've got all of those United States senators that have Jewish names, and all of those congressmen that have Jewish names, that basically vote to fund money into Israel no matter what. Guess what happens when Obama decides not to help Israel and the Muslim countries are piling on? You're going to get a President of the United States overridden by Congress of the United States, and the Congress of the United States can send, I said, only the President of the United States has the authority to declare war. Oh, yes, but Congress can send troops wherever they wish.
Oh, interesting.
So if Congress simply says that, let's send 100,000 Patriot missiles to Israel, guess who's going to get paid? Obama will say, I'm going to veto it. Well, count how many members with Jewish names sit in Congress.
Ooh, this could be really interesting.
Yeah, they've overridden the president on these things before. And then, so, I mean, the War Powers Act gives the president power to act 30 days without Congress support, but the Congress can,
Because the president is commander-in-chief.
He's commander-in-chief. He has the power to declare war, but only Congress can make war. Remember, Congress does not need the president to make war. Only the president can declare war.
Interesting.
So that's the trick. You're not going to see Israel fall because of a Muslim president. You mean you could, like I said, and when everything, okay, anyway, if a huge war breaks out, half the world ends up destroyed, all the oil supplies get screwed up. Good, because that makes the United States the biggest power in the world. We have the greatest oil reserves in the world. We don't need anybody else. We have the greatest supply of natural resources in the world.
Yeah, that's why they
else.
haven't been drilling, because we're saving them.
Well, no, just because the Democrats don't want to drill. But we have, and every day this goes on. What do you think the Muslims, okay, we had $100 a barrel when all of this started, and all of a sudden the price is down to $87 a barrel. Because they know that states are going ready to override Obama on states' rights issues, and they're going to start drilling where he has no authority. He can't stop you anywhere except on public land. If it's not public land, you can drill anywhere to your heart's content if the state allows it. So he is about to find out that he doesn't have the authority he thinks he does, plus the fact that they held him in contempt last week for the drilling stuff. But we will. The Muslims all know that if they raise the price too high, we'll start doing everything, and they're out of business. And then there's those dictators.
And it doesn't take that much longer because gas is pretty high right now.
Yeah. You want to make a Muslim country, you want to make them a democracy, cut out their sources of revenue. You're going to have a democracy. Because they can afford not to be democracies because the world is paying them for oil. China doesn't need it. Britain doesn't need it. Ireland doesn't need it. The United States and Canada don't need it. Latin America doesn't. Who needs it? The countries that are selling oil over the Muslim countries. You don't think that Cesar Chavez wouldn't take the opportunity to screw the Iranians if he had the only game in town?
That's true.
Yeah, that's how it works, folks. So, but it's just interesting. We're not going to stop talking about Egypt until it's all over. And as Yogi Berra you know, the baseball player, not the cartoon character, said, you know, it ain't over till the fat lady sang and the fat lady ain't even on stage yet, so. Until next time, this is Old Town.
And this is not a spring chicken. We're here yesterday, today, and tomorrow. For more information,
You can go to www.montybubbles.net on the net.
and wherever you're watching, subscribe to us. Follow our daily newscast in 3D. And thank you once again for over 40 million links.